Welcome to a noble society of young urban entrepreneurs sharing knowledge and building wealth. Welcome to the League of Hustlers.
The hustle is in your bones. It runs through your veins. It's that ambition to do more, become more. You can feel it. You know you have what it takes. You know you can build a life you've been dreaming of. It's time you live up to your potential. Welcome to the League of Hustlers.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of the League of Hustlers. I'm your co-host, C.D. Barnes.
And I'm HT.
We are the League of Hustlers. We got a special episode for you. Special guest in the house. We got our brother Justin Rhedrick, the Bitcoin vegan.
Yeah.
Drop knowledge and spread wealth. All right, about Bitcoin, what it is, why you need to get it, why now. All right.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll be able to touch on a lot of that basic information that you might need to help you along your journey in regards to investing, financial security, and what's next in regards to just money, period. All right.
First and foremost, I want to ask, how'd you come up with the name, the Bitcoin vegan, man?
Man, so first of all, I want to say thank you all for having me on. I want to say thank you to your listeners. Real quick, I want to say this. Anybody that's listening, right? I have a surprise for everyone. If you send me a message either to my email at justin@bitcoinvegan.com or on Instagram at bitcoinvegan or Twitter at bitcoin_vegan, if you send me election day Bitcoin, I will send you all a quick personal live Q&A about Bitcoin, about my course I'm having, and I'm also going to send everyone a free chapter of a book that I'm writing. I've been writing on this whole year. So send election day Bitcoin to either Bitcoin Vegan on Instagram, Justin@bitcoinvegan, my email, or Bitcoin_vegan on Twitter. All right. And I hope that can help you all really take advantage of that. So how I came up with the name Bitcoin Vegan, man, it was like in 2016, I was really just trying to become an entrepreneur. I had been home from prison probably a year and a half, and I just learned about, a vegan diet. And I really wanted to get out the everyday rat race of a 9-to-5, which for me was like manual labor type of stuff. So I just knew I had to jump out there. So the first thing I did, I created vegan food. I cooked it at my house. I delivered it and I sold it to people. And then when I learned about Bitcoin, I started accepting Bitcoin for the food. And over time, I stepped away from cooking, but Bitcoin and veganism really changed my life. So I just combined the names. I realized no one in the world had this name, Bitcoin Vegan. So let me just go ahead and take this and brand it and make it what I want to make it.
Cool. And so in a nutshell, what is, for the people that don't know about cryptocurrencies, and altcoins and blockchain, what is crypto? What is blockchain? Give us a brief, breakdown about what cryptocurrency is and its potential impact on our financial system.
Well, let me break down. It's like three of them. You got Bitcoin, you got cryptocurrency, and you have blockchain. Now, Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. It's just the very first one, and it's built for situations kind of like we're in right now. It's a storage of value, a medium of exchange. It's a personal, it's like a barrier instrument. So if you have it, it's yours, right? And the storage of value piece is coming into play very much so in 2020, since the beginning of like, what I would say when America went on timeout, March 10th, 2020, Bitcoin's like around $5,000. Right about now it's hovering around 13,000 somewhere. So the storage of value and the use case has shown that it was built for financial situations, economic downfalls. It was actually built in 2008 for that financial crisis, but the world wasn't even really up on it as they are now. So Bitcoin being the number one, the very first cryptocurrency, everything else follows, tries to emulate what it does. You have a lot of other cryptocurrencies out there. You have a lot of cryptocurrencies out there. Me personally, since being in this space in 2016, I really don't talk about them as much because I don't see the same use case. And like, you could probably make some money, but what stands out from Bitcoin is the fact that it's decentralized. Like, you don't even know who the creator is. You can't put a face with the creator. And when you have a face with some of these coins, you have governments who are able to try to pressure you. But altcoins, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin in general, is showing the world that there's a time for a new way to use money, a way that it can be digital and attached to the internet. And a blockchain is nothing more than the technology behind, let's say, Bitcoin. Um, I can't say blockchain is the same technology behind other cryptocurrencies, because a lot of these cryptocurrencies are just tokens, like amusement park tokens or arcade tokens. They're made so you could use it for another company's platform. But Bitcoin's world use case, and what makes the blockchain so special, is the fact that it cures. How can I say this in the terms people understand? It's a solid technology. It's been around for 12 years. Hasn't been hacked. There's been many attacks, and it also stops double spending. So here's an example. There's no way, like, if I was to send you all a picture or a PDF file, I would still have that PDF file. You would have it, C would have it, a lot of other people would have it. However, what makes a blockchain, one of many things that make the blockchain special is, once I send you Bitcoin, I'm no longer in possession of it. Once I send you an email, I still have that email. So what the blockchain does, it prevents double spending. It prevents counterfeit Bitcoin to ever be made, and it's shown to be a very useful. Too many big words, because people are gonna just be like, I don't know what that means. But in the terms of what we're speaking of right now,
there for a little bit.
But so quick question though. So I mean, it sounds like, okay, the use case is great and it sounds good, but for someone that doesn't have any Bitcoin at all, number one, is it too late to get in because the price is at 13 grand, like you said? So is it too late to get in, number one? And another question would be, is the fact that it's decentralized, I could see that being a pro, but could that also be like a con, like a reason for, governments or just larger agencies to actually not back or not use, to go with another cryptocurrency?
Well, to answer the first one, is it too late? Nah, it's not too late. Because like I told people in 2016, for some strange reason, people find a way to run across a large sum of money, and you can still buy some. But I'm not gonna say you're just gonna run across $13,000. However, you can. And Bitcoin is you can buy it in fractions. And so what really, one day I had to really look at this, and I sat down and I did it for myself before I was able to tell people about it. When you really look at how much money you spend in a year, over time, it's like, you'll be surprised. You might spend $10,000 on something that is not going to serve you any purpose at all. Matter of fact, it's going to hurt you more than anything. Right. So right about time now, since Bitcoin is around, $13,000, a lot of us are talking about dollar cost average, meaning have you a number you want to buy per month, per week, whatever that works best for you, and just have your money there. A lot of people, I was on the phone with a friend the other day, and she was telling me how she was paying down her student loans. And I said, all right, so, how much did you owe in student loans when you graduated? I think she said like around $25,000, $30,000. And I said, how much have you paid on it? She said, well, I probably paid $20,000 on my student loans. I said, how much do you owe now? She said, I owe right around $40,000 because of interest. Dang. And you have that type of, have that type of, yeah, that's real.
It's crazy.
You have that type of scenario. And I said to her, well, what if the energy and some of the money you put towards paying down your student loans, something that's going away from you, you paid it on something that can actually benefit you in the future. You know, yeah, you might not have $13,000 to buy a whole Bitcoin. However, you know, if you were to put $1,000 in Bitcoin, you was able to save up to $1,000 in Bitcoin, and you would receive a 10x or a 20x experience. You know, from $10,000 to $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be a lot useful for someone instead of, you know, thinking I gotta get a whole Bitcoin. You know, how can you break this thing down? And so
Right.
I ask people to approach it like that. Go ahead.
Yeah, you use the term dollar cost averaging, right? And so for those of you who don't know, dollar cost averaging is basically lowering your risk or mitigating your risk by putting a little bit towards an invest in and putting a little bit of monies toward an investment over the course of time. And so before we you know, sat down for this interview, we asked the League of Hustlers some questions. And one question that came up several times was they wanted your expert opinion on, is it safe? Right? You know, for the longest, Bitcoin had this stigma of being, you know, like this platform for illicit activities and for, you know, buying, you know, stuff on the dark web, blah, blah, blah. So one thing folks wanted to know is it safe? Or if someone invests in Bitcoin, is their money safe?
Okay. I love that question. I really love that question. So here's the thing, right? And from the aspect of the dark web or buying illicit things, we have to really be honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
The same USD you use to pay bills, it's the same USD people use for illegal activity. You know, the same, you know, if you ever bought euros or you ever used a euro, you ever used money in a different country, they use the same thing. So you can never equate how people use the vehicle. You know, some people drive Astro vans to work.
Right.
Some people use Astro vans to kidnap people. You know, so the narrative that's been put out there about Bitcoin, and the people behind this narrative have a very great way of making you seem like what you're currently using is the safest thing in the world, right? However, that's the biggest lie.
Gotcha.
You know, not only is it not used for illicit activity, yeah, Bitcoin's going to be used for illicit. I actually said this on a panel in Washington, D.C. at Howard University several years ago. A politician said the same thing. And I was being a bit of a smart aleck, but I said, well, you know, criminals breathe air and you haven't stopped using that neither. You know, so it's like attaching a different type of logic to this thing. And in terms of like losing money, because people, I know they talk about that a lot as well. And they're like, well, you know, I heard a lot of people lost a lot of money.
Right, because it's very volatile, right? It can be very
volatile. Yeah, it is volatile.
Yeah.
And you know, I've been in the space since 2016 and I've noticed all the cycles. And one thing I have noticed is that when Bitcoin was first created, it was less than a penny, right?
Mm-hmm.
The highest it's ever gone to was $20,000. Do I believe it's going to go higher than $20,000 like it did in 2018? Yes. So when we really start looking at numbers, we really start looking at graphs, you start noticing that the only way people lost money is if one, they secure their private keys, or they did not have the security in place, or two, you sold before it got too high, your emotions got too much into it. You probably bought a whole lot thinking you were going to buy a boat in a month, and you had all these illogical ideas and thoughts you were going to do with this.
Okay.
Right? So when we really look at the numbers, as the graph, the people who bought in 2018 and bought the high and who stayed on, they haven't lost any Bitcoin. It just the value had gone down a little bit. But now 2020 is here, and you are seeing these situations. You're seeing how, you know, governments are withholding money. You're seeing how businesses have been torn down because of coronavirus. You're seeing how everyone's currency is looking flawed. So the writing is on the wall for it to be that storage of value. So when people ask me, is it safe? Yeah. When they ask me, do criminals use it? Yes. However, when it comes to holding that Bitcoin to see those days, you know, what happens is you need a lot of knowledge. You need knowledge of knowing what's going on. You need knowledge of knowing how to stay there. And that's where, you know, I start providing the expertise that I have. And to answer C's question earlier, he asked about since it's being decentralized with a lot of governments backing. Well, early on, when anything is new and you have that upper hand on people on certain situations, your arrogance starts believing like, well, we don't have to deal with you. We've been doing the same thing we've been doing for hundreds of years. Fractional banking, it's been working for us a little bit, not really, and we're going to keep going with the traditional things we know. And then over time, people start noticing how flawed your money system might be. And now Bitcoin is like that. It's like a fighter. When you watch those boxing matches and you see a guy who does a lot of moving around the ring, that's kind of like the government not wanting to accept the fact. But you have that other fighter who's just there. Every time he's there, he's in your face. He's pressing you. He's applying pressure. He's letting you know I'm real. He's letting you know I'm there. Everything you throw at me, I'm going to take it. And then he just start delivering shots, delivering punches to let you know it's real. That's the situation you have with Bitcoin. You have Iran. They just used, even though they're a smaller country, a lot of people downplay Iran, right? They might downplay it because it's not America.
Mm-hmm.
But you have countries out there Iran is the first country that want to use Bitcoin for imports to avoid U.S. sanctions. I don't know what it's like to have a UN session because I haven't never lived in a country with a sanction by the U.S. But when you have countries like that, then you have institutional investors starting to notice this shift towards why Bitcoin is serious. It might be like, okay, yeah, will the government allow it? Government tried to stay out the way because they don't want to stifle innovation. However, once the big institutions that report to governments or vice versa start saying, hey, Bitcoin is something we're going to start allowing for our customer use. JP Morgan has, Goldman Sachs has.
Right.
You see all these other publicly trading companies buying at least $100 million worth of Bitcoin.
It's crazy.
The writing is on the wall to where we're in that era where the old thinking is Blockbuster, the new thinking is Netflix.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed behind the scenes, so to speak, is a lot of companies are, and I'm not talking about small companies. I'm talking about like your major players like Amazon, Facebook, Google, etc. A bunch of these companies are developing crypto technologies and blockchain technologies. And so like behind the scenes on these one-off projects that like Facebook has the Libra coin, Amazon, I can't remember what theirs is called. Google has been playing in the space, and a bunch of these companies have been playing in this space. And so to your point about the I guess mainstream adoption, I think it's coming. I think that, it is at a place where all of a sudden it's going to be like, surprise, look what we've been doing. Now we have all of these services that's built on blockchain, and it's pretty awesome. Everything is a lot more secure than it was before. And then mainstream is going to kind of catch up to it. But with that said, we want some exclusive insight from the Bitcoin vegan, the expert, right? Where do you see this going? I've heard people throw out estimates to say it could go back up to 20K per Bitcoin. I've heard some people say it could go up to 100,000 per Bitcoin. So in your expert opinion and being realistic, where do you see Bitcoin going?
Okay, so and I'm glad you asked that question because I just had a conversation. I was on a podcast interview with a guy. This show's called The Halving Report. And he opened my eyes to looking at Bitcoin's price in a different way.
Okay.
His was based all off of the halving and the scarcity that's going to keep happening with Bitcoin. And really, real quick, the halving is nothing more than the supply of Bitcoin within, a year's time or whatnot being cut in half every so often. So you got
every 4 years,
6,000
right?
Bitcoin. Yeah, every 4 years, just like an election. So, and when this scarcity starts to take place, supply demand starts rising.
Right.
coronavirus, you have the economic, crash, but you also have the halving that is now making it harder to purchase Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have those types of things in play, and the graphs that I've been seeing coming out, the power of scarcity, the power of supply and demand, the power of storage of value, especially in this time. Enemy of exchange, if you look at Iran, by the end of the year, I do feel we could be over 20K by the end of the year. I've read reports where they said 50K sometime by next year, and about 2025, between 100,000. I heard as low as 100,000 is upwards to $1 million per Bitcoin. So when you hear those type of numbers, and not only the numbers, like I don't just look at the numbers of the graphs. I look at what's going on. I read an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday talking about how the U.S. is on the way to facing the biggest cash crisis since the Great Depression. It's going to say that we haven't really felt the effects of the coronavirus in 2020 like we will in 2021. And they also said that the U.S. economy itself might not recover until 2025. And, with the lack of stimulus, with the lack of all these other things happening, those types of articles coming out by companies and organizations and journalists who have nothing to do with Bitcoin, on top of the things I stated before that happened with Bitcoin, on top of what's currently happening in the world, I can definitely see a six-figure price probably by 2025. I definitely see it
Really?
going over $20,000.
Wow.
I can definitely see that happen.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You have, mm-hmm.
If you haven't heard of the halving events, definitely look that up. Definitely look that up. It's like every time the halving happens, it shoots up. It dips and then it shoots up. Dips, shoots up. Dips, shoots up. Like historically, over every halving event.
Right. I mean, so basically, man, what I hear out of all of that is that it's not too late, even it's high, you can still get in. There's still an opportunity. There's still room for growth. It is still a new technology. It hasn't been 100%, widely accepted. So we're still seeing like that entry level interest. I think it hasn't been accepted by the main population. Everyone does not have it yet. With that, though, you already know, with every episode, we like to leave a challenge. From the Bitcoin vegan to the League of Hustlers, what would your challenge be to the group today?
My challenge would be, my challenge is simple. Go buy Bitcoin. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to do, your own risk. And if you have your own risk with regular investments and you don't feel too comfortable with Bitcoin, cut it in half, do what you got to do. But buy Bitcoin. And if you don't know how to buy Bitcoin, again, you can definitely send what I asked you to send earlier, Bitcoin Election Day, to my handles. And real quick, guys, this is why I also have placed together my What is Bitcoin course, because like C said, you do have, it's like 1% of the world, maybe 2% of the world who know about Bitcoin. And what's even crazier is once you know the people, it's like everybody knows each other. But you have a lot of other people out there with no real basic education of Bitcoin. And you have the internet, you have social media people out here saying, hey, invest in my Bitcoin options trading group, come do this. And they don't even have the basic understanding of Bitcoin. And most of these people are just scamming you. And I've been scammed before in Bitcoin, not by Bitcoin, but by people using it. Wow. And so what I look to do is to really touch people with education, really educate them with how to use Bitcoin quickly and why this investment is the best thing you can do. So that's my challenge, buy Bitcoin, send Bitcoin Election Day to my handles. And if you're serious about it, you're serious about this education, because I know a lot of people, they need to know what they're getting themselves into before they put their money into it.
There you go.
Check out my What is Bitcoin course, because that's where I'm really teaching you my knowledge from the past 4 years and just how to use it. I'm not going over how to create an app, how to trade on the market,
Mm.
simple stuff that can receive. Because my idea is for a lot of people to have a 10x experience, 20x experience, or better, like I had in Bitcoin. And that took place. Let's say I bought some of my first Bitcoin in 2016. The first time when it reached 20K, that was a 20x for me, the most money I ever had in my life. And that
Beautiful.
happened all within a year and some change. So I know it's more people out there with a lot more money than me, who have a lot, who don't mind risking something, who don't mind learning. And remember, like I said earlier, no one has really lost money. They only lost money because of lack of education.
Mm.
So that's my challenge for the League of Hustlers. And I do want to say, to you all, thank you again, because it's a lot of people out here who would just pass over Bitcoin, and for you to invite me out here, it
Yeah, man.
shows that you all are open to early adoption, and that's the sign of true leadership to me. People who are willing to do that, even if they don't know it all. That's a sign of true leadership. So I do thank you for what you do
Yeah,
for the
man.
community.
For sure, man. We
Yeah,
appreciate you hopping on and
absolutely.
enlightening us about it. And what we'll do is we'll leave a link in the show notes. So in this video description, in the show notes, we're gonna put a link for the What is Bitcoin course, where you go in depth, and we're hearing really good reviews about it. And really good testimonials from people who have actually been through the course, in terms of what they learned and how the Bitcoin vegan has broken the stuff down in an easy to consume format. So if you're interested in Bitcoin, you have some cash that you're willing to play with, and you've been thinking about Bitcoin, definitely check this course out. We're going to leave a link in the description. We appreciate you, brother. CD, you got anything else for the
That's it,
Bitcoin vegan?
folks. You already know what to do. All right. If you got more questions, you can hit the Bitcoin Vegan. He left his handles for you. You can hit us up, contact at leagueofhustlers.com.
Yeah, man.
Other than that, you know what to do. Go get it.
Yeah.